Hi guys, I'm Mike.
And I'm Stephen.
And this is Indy Fanatics, your home for IndyCar content with weekly podcasts and feature videos. Welcome back to the channel and to another feature video. Last time out we were looking at the career of Scott McLaughlin, so if you haven't already, check that out. Don't forget, if there is a driver, team or topic you'd like us to look at in the future, comment below.
But today we round off our History of IndyCar Series. Part 4 was all about the split between kart and the IRL. In Part 5 we will be looking at the series from 2008 with the reunification of the two championships all the way up to present day. So let's jump into it.
Now, we know from last time out that kart struggled financially, going bust and renaming as Champ Car. Well, in 2008, Tony George came in and offered a proposal to the teams in the series, which included free cars and engine leases. In exchange for this, IndyCar would add Long Beach, Toronto, Edmonton and Australia to its calendar, and therefore essentially unify the series. In February, George, Terry Angstadt, Brian Barnhart and Robert Clark travelled to Japan to discuss the moving or postponement of the Indy Japan 300 to accommodate Long Beach. Later that month, George and the owners of Champ Car would complete the unification that saw the Champ Car series suspend apart from the Long Beach round, and most of the teams came across and joined the IndyCar series, and thankfully since then the series has remained together ever since. In 2009, George would step down from his position of head of IRL and Indianapolis Motor Speedway and make way for a new era in the sport.
Let's move on to the manufacturers in the sport. Now, Honda was the sole engine provider between 2006 and 2011, but from 2012 onwards, Chevrolet returned, and also Lotus made an entry into the sport. Now, Chevy has been a successful return to the series, until present day battle it out with Honda for engine supremacy in the series, but being evenly matched. However, Lotus's return was far from successful. Supplying 4 teams with engines at the start of 2012 season, it became very clear that the engine was just not up to scratch for a variety of reasons. And if you'd like us to do a specialist video on Lotus' failed return, comment down below. But as we approach the Indy 500, 2 teams had already pulled out of their engine supply deal with Lotus, and the 2 that remained, HVM Racing and Fan Force United, were black flagged 10 laps in as they were woefully off the pace. It was no surprise that when the end of the 2012 season came around, Lotus approached IndyCar to be released from their deal as an engine supplier, and IndyCar obliged. But it left IndyCar with 2 evenly matched engine suppliers that have helped drive the sport forward in Honda and Chevy. To put in perspective the closeness between the two, since 2012, Chevy have powered 5 drivers to the IndyCar Championship and Honda 4, and with both committing their long-term futures to the sport and to the new hybrid engines in 2023, IndyCar is in a strong place.
Also in 2012, it saw the introduction of the Dallara DW12 chassis, which still runs in its developed state today. Its main introduction was to try and improve safety after the tragic accident at the 2011 season finale that saw Dan Weldon lose his life, and his name is attached to the sport with the DW standard for Dan Weldon on the DW12 chassis. It saw partial enclosure around the rear wheels, which helped to stop cars ramping up and over other vehicles' rear end. The DW12 was also designed to allow each respective team's engine supplier to provide aero kits on top of their chassis. These aero kits were run by Honda and Chevy between 2015 and 2017. The idea was to increase speeds of the cars, and there would also be a distinction between the Chevy and Honda powered cars. However, it significantly increased the cost, and Chevy made the dominant package, which Honda could only compete with on the ovals, having a slightly more powerful engine. So in 2018, IndyCar returned to a spec aero package. This new aero package would simplify downforce and reduce costs for the teams, and took inspiration from the 1990s and 2000s kart design. The latest bit of technology introduced in 2020 for safety was the aero screen. This was a shield around the driver's cockpit with an opening at the top still. After 2020, the aero screen was definitely been a success so far and removed doubts some may have had about just copying F1 with the halo.
Safety is always a feature in IndyCar taken very seriously, and with a dedicated safety team that goes to all the races, quick response response times and safe removal of drivers from potentially damaging crashes has been a must for them. The documentary Yellow, Yellow, Yellow gives you a further insight into the team and the way the sport tackles improving safety for all its participants. But unfortunately, during this time in IndyCar, there have been 2 fatalities in British drivers Dan Wheldon and Justin Wilson. In 2011, at the season finale at Vegas, Dan, a 2-time and current Indy 500 champion, lost his life in a 15-car pile-up that saw his car go airborne after colliding with the rear of Charlie Kimball's car. It was a sad day for all involved as one of IndyCar's brightest stars had gone. In 2015, Justin Wilson lost his life at Pocono. Sage Crown crashed out from the lead and his nose cone ricocheted down the track, and as Justin was taking avoiding action right, he was struck by a piece of the nose cone, being knocked unconscious and crashed and would later pass away from these injuries. His accident accelerated the process that saw the introduction of the aeroscreen to help protect drivers. Both drivers were a tragic loss and showed the dangers that motorsport will always possess, though we hope we don't have to go through it again.
Drivers will be the focus of our next section. From 2008, the series has been blessed with an enormous amount of talent coming through the series and ranks. In the 13 Indy 500 since 2008, there have been 11 different winners, with only 2 double winners in this time, with Dario Franchitti and Takuma Sato. The series has found a fantastic balance between homegrown talent and foreign imports over the past few seasons. Looking at the 2021 grid, you have the incredibly exciting American talents of Newgarden, Rossi and Herta, as well as older greats in Dixon, Power and Pagano, and a young generation of Pato, VK and Palou. IndyCar has arguably one of the most exciting lineups in world motorsport, and with the series being so competitive, so many drivers have a shot at winning the 500 and IndyCar title. During this time, Dixon has cemented his place as a legend of the sport, moving on to 6 IndyCar titles, just 1 away from the all-time record set by AJ Foyt of 7 titles, with 50 wins in the series, placing him 3rd on the all-time winners list, including an Indy 500 win in 2008. Will Power has become one of the fastest men to ever drive in the series, with 63 poles to his name, just 5 away from all-time record pole setter and IndyCar legend Mario Andretti, while also adding an IndyCar Championship and 500 to his name. American talent has thrived against its peers as well, with Ryan Hunter-Reay claiming a title and Indy 500 win in 2012 and 2014 respectively. Alexander Rossi won the 500 as a rookie in 2016 and has been a title contender and 500 contender ever since. And then of course you have Joseph Newgarden, 2-time IndyCar champion who has been Scott's main rival over the past 4 years, pushing the Kiwi every step of the way. That's without naming the other stars in Dario Franchitti, Helio Castroneves, Tony Kanaan and Juan Pablo Montoya. IndyCar really has had a hugely impressive talent pool over the years, and it only seems to be getting better and better, and with the title going to the last race for each one of the last 15 years, it lends itself to the question, is this a new golden era for IndyCar?
Let us know what you think in the comments below. 2020 also saw a new beginning for IndyCar. Long-time competitor and a man who is clearly passionate about the series, Roger Penske bought IndyCar at the back end of 2019. Little did he know that in his first year he would have to contend with a global pandemic, one of the most difficult years in history to stage sport and events safely. It's been a rocky start, but after completing a 14-race calendar in 2020 and a proposed 17-race calendar in 2021, Roger and Penske corporations have done a fantastic job to keep the IndyCar show on the road. Unfortunately, there were no fans at the 104th running of the Indy 500, and that may well turn out to be the case again in the 105th running. A series that has such a great relationship with its fans and its flagship event being the heart of that, it was a tough decision to take. In Penske, we don't know what the future holds, but if he can replicate any of the success he has had as a team owner in the series to the series overall, then IndyCar is in safe hands. With talks of another manufacturer potentially joining, a push into the gaming world, the dawn of the hybrid era on the horizon, and a wealth of talent at its disposal, IndyCar is a bright future. How bright will be decided over the next few years.
And that's it for our history of IndyCar. We hope you've enjoyed this 5-part series, going all the way from the beginning to present day. There are plenty of stories we've covered that we will look at in more detail in the future on the channel, and plenty more stories we are yet to tell. IndyCar's history hasn't exactly been a smooth one. With 2 splits in the series, controversy and tragic deaths, it's been tough. But what it has is one of the biggest and longest standing races in history with the Indy 500, a great connection with fans and drivers to make people buy into the series and support their heroes, and something you can arguably say that has been lost from other series, racing at its heart. It's been a hell of a ride, and long may it continue.
If you'd like to keep up to date with all our content, you can like, subscribe and ding that bell.
Ding it! So for now, you Indy fans, keep racing!